The desert sand was hot under the burning sun of Kelros 7. Captain Minji Park wiped sweat from her face as she looked at the map on her tablet. The 3 vehicles moved slowly across the empty wasteland, their engines making soft humming sounds. In the quiet air, "How much longer, Captain?" asked Lieutenant Do-yeon Lee from the driver's seat. His hands were steady on the wheel, but Minji could hear the worry in his voice. 2 more hours, Minji said. She looked back at the other 2 vehicles. Following behind them, the Valkyrie meeting point is just past those hills. In the second vehicle, Sergeant Nari Kim checked her weapon for the 10th time. She did not trust the Valkyrie aliens. They had been attacking human colonies for months. Why would they want peace talks now? Communications officer Gi-woo Choi sat in the third vehicle, watching her radio equipment. Static filled the air. Still no word from command, she said to herself. The signal is getting weaker. The 3 vehicles carried gifts for the peace talks: food, medicine, and technology samples. The human government hoped these would show the Valkyrie that humans wanted friendship, not war. Captain Minji had read all the reports about the Valkyrie. They were tall, reptile-like beings with tough skin and sharp teeth. They used energy weapons that could cut through metal. Their ships were fast and deadly. But maybe, just maybe, they could learn to live in peace. The sand started to change color. As they drove, it became darker, almost black in some places. Strange rock formations stuck out of the ground like giant fingers. Minji felt something was wrong, but she could not say what. Captain Do-yeon said, pointing ahead, "Look at those rocks. They look like good hiding spots." Minji raised her binoculars. The rocks were tall and had many shadows between them. Perfect places for an ambush. But they had no choice. This was the only path to the meeting point. "Stay alert, everyone," Minji said into her radio. "Keep your weapons ready." The vehicles moved between the tall rocks. The shadows made everything dark and cool. Minji's heart beat faster. Something felt very wrong now. Then it happened. A bright green light shot out from behind a rock. It hit the first vehicle right in the engine. The vehicle exploded in a ball of fire and metal. Do-yeon screamed as he lost control. Their vehicle flipped over and crashed into the sand. More green lights filled the air. Energy blasts hit the other vehicles. Nari jumped out just before her vehicle exploded. Ji-woo's vehicle burst into flames, but she crawled out through the broken window. "Ambush! Take cover!" Minji shouted as she pulled herself from the crashed vehicle. Her left arm was hurt, but she could still move. Tall shapes appeared from behind the rocks. The Valkyrie raiders stood 8 feet tall. Their reptile skin was dark green and covered with small scales that looked like armor. Their yellow eyes glowed in the shadows. Each one carried a long energy weapon that hummed with deadly power. The Valkyrie commander stepped forward. He was bigger than the others and had red markings on his face. His voice was deep and harsh when he spoke. "Stupid humans," the commander said with a laugh that sounded like grinding stones. "Did you think we really wanted peace? We only wanted to bring you here to kill you." Minji tried to reach for her weapon, but a green energy blast hit the sand right next to her hand. The sand turned to glass from the heat. "I am Sektar, commander of this hunting party," the big Valkyrie said. "We have been watching you humans for months. You are so weak, so slow, so easy to kill." More Valkyrie appeared from the rocks. There were at least 20 of them. They surrounded the crashed vehicles. Their weapons pointed at the 4 humans. Do-yeon had a cut on his head, but he was alive. He tried to crawl toward his rifle, but a Valkyrie stepped on his hand. Do-yeon cried out in pain. Nari was behind a piece of burning metal. She had her pistol, but what good would it do against 20 enemies with better weapons? She looked for a way to escape, but there was nowhere to run. Ji-woo was hurt badly. Blood ran down her face from where glass had cut her. She lay very still, by her broken vehicle, trying not to move. "Look how pathetic they are," Sektar said to his warriors. "This is the species that dares to build colonies in our space." These soft, pink creatures with their weak bodies, the other Valkyrie made sounds. That might have been laughter. Their weapons stayed pointed at the humans. "We could kill them now," one warrior said. But where is the fun in that? No, Sektar said, raising his hand. We will take them back to our ship. The others will want to see how weak humans are before we kill them. It will be good sport. Mingi tried to stand up, but her legs were shaking. Blood ran from a cut on her forehead, and her left arm hung at a strange angle. But she would not give up. She was the captain. She had to protect her team. Let them go, Minji said, trying to sound strong. I am the leader, take me, but let them live. Sektar walked over to her. He was so tall that she only came up to his chest. His yellow eyes looked down at her like she was an insect. You think you can make deals with us, little human, Sektar said. He raised his energy weapon and pointed it at her chest. You think your words mean anything to us? The weapon hummed with power. The green light at the end grew brighter. No, Sektar said. We will kill you all, but first, you will suffer. You will know what it feels like to be hunted by a superior species. He pulled the trigger. The green energy blast hit Mingi in the chest. The power threw her backward into the sand. Pain filled her whole body like fire. She could not breathe, she could not move. Blood began to pour from the wound. Captain Doyen shouted, but a Valkyrie hit him with the back of his weapon. Minji lay in the sand, bleeding. The hot sun burned down on her face. Her vision became dark around the edges. She could hear the Valkyrie laughing and talking about what they would do to her team. This was how it would end, she thought. Alone in the sand on a strange planet, far from home, she had failed her mission. She had failed her team. But as her blood mixed with the strange dark sand of Kelros 7, something began to happen, something the Valkyrie could never have expected. Something that would change everything. The pain was everywhere. Minji could feel her life slipping away as blood poured from the hole in her chest. The sand beneath her was getting wet and dark. She tried to move, but her body would not listen. The Valkyrie were still laughing. She could hear their voices, but they sounded far away now. Her eyes were getting heavy. The bright sun above seemed to be getting darker. Tie up the other three, Sektar ordered his warriors. We will take them to the ship. But leave the female. She will be dead soon anyway. Doyen struggled against the Valkyrie holding him down. Captain, Captain, stay awake, he shouted. But Minji could barely hear him now. Nari was pulled from her hiding spot behind the burning metal. Valkyrie grabbed her arms and dragged her toward their transport ship that had landed behind the rocks. She tried to fight, but they were too strong. Jiwoo was barely conscious. Blood still ran from the cuts on her face. A Valkyrie picked her up like she weighed nothing and carried her toward the ship. Look at them, one warrior said as he tied Doyeon's hands. So weak, so fragile. How did this species ever learn to travel between stars? It does not matter, Sektar replied. Soon, there will be no more humans to worry about. We will hunt them all down, one colony at a time. The Valkyrie commander looked back at Minji one last time. She lay very still in the sand. Her face was pale, and her breathing was so shallow he could barely see it. She is almost dead, he said. Good. Let the sand have her bones. But something strange was happening in the sand around Minji, where her blood had fallen. The dark sand began to move. It started to glow with a soft silver light. The light was so faint that no one noticed it yet. Deep inside Minji's body, changes were beginning. Her blood carried something that had been sleeping for thousands of years. Something old and powerful. That was waiting for the right moment to wake up. The sand of Kelros 7 was not normal sand. It contained metals and minerals that existed nowhere else in the galaxy. When human blood mixed with these special elements, it created a reaction that no scientist had ever seen before. Tiny silver threads began to form in Minji's blood. They moved through her body like living metal, reaching every part of her. The threads found the hole in her chest and began to weave themselves together, closing the wound from the inside. Her heart, which had almost stopped beating, began to beat stronger. The silver threads wrapped around her bones, making them harder. Then steel. They flowed into her muscles, making them dense and powerful. Her brain began to change too. New pathways formed as the silver threads connected parts of her mind that had never worked together before. Information flowed faster. Her thoughts became clearer and sharper. But Mingi did not know any of this was happening. She was lost in darkness, floating between life and death. In her mind, she saw strange images. She saw humans from long ago, before they had traveled to the stars. She saw great cities and amazing machines. She saw a war that lasted for centuries. Against enemies she did not recognize, she saw the moment when the last survivors of that ancient war changed themselves. They put something into their blood, something that would sleep until their children's children needed it most. A gift and a weapon, hidden away for the darkest hour. The images faded, and Minji began to wake up. The first thing she noticed was that the pain was gone, all of it. Her chest, her broken arm, the cuts on her face, nothing hurt anymore. She felt strong, stronger than she had ever felt in her life. She opened her eyes. The world looked different now. She could see every grain of sand around her. She could hear the Valkyrie talking by their ship, even though they were far away. She could smell the metal of their weapons and the fear coming from her team. Minji sat up slowly. She looked down. At her chest, where the energy blast had hit her, her uniform was torn and covered with blood, but underneath, her skin was perfect. Not even a scar remained. She held up her hands and stared at them. They looked the same, but she could feel power flowing through them. She pressed her palm against a large rock next to her. The rock cracked and broke into pieces. "What is happening?" "To me," she whispered. Her voice sounded different, stronger when she spoke. She felt vibrations in her throat that she had never felt before. Mingi stood up. Her body moved smoothly, like a machine built for perfection. Every muscle worked together in perfect harmony. She felt like she could run for miles without getting tired, or lift a vehicle with her bare hands. Near the Valkyrie ship, Doyon saw her stand up. His eyes went wide with shock. "Captain, but you were. How are you?" One of the Valkyrie guards heard him and looked toward the crash site. He saw Mingi standing in the sand and made a confused sound. "The human female is alive." The guard called to Sektar, "She is standing up." Sektar turned around and stared. "Impossible. I shot her in the heart. She was dying. Should we shoot her again?" Another warrior asked. "Yes," Sektar said, raising his energy weapon. "Finish her off." The green energy blast flew across the sand toward Minji. She watched it coming. To her new eyes, it seemed to move very slowly. She could see every particle of energy as it traveled through the air. She stepped to the side. The blast hit the rock behind her and turned it to melted stone. The Valkyrie stared in surprise. No human could move that fast. "Shoot her again," Sektar roared. 3 warriors fired their weapons at the same time. 3 green beams of death flew toward Mingi. She moved like water, flowing between the blasts. Her body twisted and turned in ways that should have been impossible. All 3 energy beams missed her completely. The Valkyrie looked at each other in confusion and fear. What kind of human could dodge their weapons? "Keep firing," Sektar screamed. "She is just one weak human." But even as he said the words, he was not sure they were true anymore. Mingi started walking toward them. Her steps were slow and steady. She was not running or hurrying. She was just walking. But there was something terrifying about the way she moved. More energy blasts filled the air. Mingi dodged them all. She moved like she could see the future. Stepping away from each blast before it was even fired, Nari watched from where the Valkyrie were holding her. Her mouth fell open. "Captain, what happened to you?" Minji heard her clearly, even though Nari had whispered the words. Her enhanced hearing picked up every sound for miles around. "I do not know," Minji said. Her voice carried across the desert like it was amplified. "But I am going to find out." She was getting closer to the Valkyrie ship. The warriors were backing away now, their confidence turning to worry. "What are you waiting for?" Sektar yelled at his warriors. "Kill her." But deep down, he was beginning to wonder if that was even possible anymore. The human female who had been dying in the sand 30 seconds ago was now walking toward them like she owned the entire planet. And for the first time in his life, Commander Sektar felt afraid. Minji kept walking toward the Valkyrie ship. Every step was smooth and perfect. She felt power flowing through her body like electricity. The world around her seemed bright and clear, as if she had been blind before and could finally see. "Stop. Right there," Human Sektar shouted. He raised his energy weapon and aimed it at her head. "One more step, and I will blow your head off." Minji looked at him. Her eyes were different now. They seemed to glow with their own light. When she spoke, her voice was calm and steady. "You already tried to kill me once," she said. "How did that work out for you?" Sektar pulled the trigger. The green energy blast shot toward her head. Minji moved faster than the eye could follow. She ducked down, spun to the left, and rolled behind a large rock. The energy blast hit the rock and turned part of it into glass. But Mingi was not behind the rock anymore. She appeared right next to one of the Valkyrie warriors. Before he could react, she grabbed his energy weapon with one hand. The metal handle crumpled in her grip like soft clay. The weapon broke into pieces. The warrior stared at his broken weapon in shock. "How did you?" Mingi pushed him, gently, with 2 fingers. The 8-foot-tall alien flew backward 20 feet and crashed into the side of his ship. He did not get up. "Impossible," another warrior screamed. He fired his weapon at her from just 10 feet away. Mingi caught the energy blast in her bare hand, the green fire that could melt metal wrapped around her fingers like harmless light. She squeezed her fist, and the energy disappeared. The warrior dropped his weapon and ran. "Stand and fight, you coward," Sektar roared at his fleeing soldier. But his voice shook with fear. 3 more warriors attacked Mingi at the same time. They came at her with energy weapons and metal claws that could cut through stone. Mingi moved like a dancer in a deadly ballet. She spun between their attacks, dodging every strike. Her hand shot out and touched one warrior's chest. He flew backward and hit the ground hard, his armor cracked and broken. She grabbed the second warrior's arm and twisted gently. The arm broke with a loud snap. The warrior screamed and fell to his knees. The third warrior swung his claws at her head. Mingi caught his wrist and squeezed. The metal claws shattered like glass. She flicked his forehead with one finger. He fell unconscious instantly. The other Valkyrie warriors backed away in terror. They had never seen anything like this. Their strongest weapons were useless. Their toughest armor was like paper. And this was just one small human female. "What are you?" Sektar whispered. Minji looked at him. "I am what you made me. You left me bleeding in the sand. You thought I was weak and helpless. You were wrong." She started walking toward him again. With each step, more Valkyrie warriors ran away. Soon, only Sektar and 5 of his bravest soldiers remained. "Fire everything," Sektar screamed. "All weapons. Kill her now." The 5 warriors fired their energy weapons at the same time. Green fire filled the air. The blasts were so powerful. They melted the sand into glass wherever they hit, but Mingi was not there anymore. She was above them. She had jumped 50 feet into the air and was falling down toward them like a missile. She landed in the middle of the group with a crash that shook the ground. The shockwave knocked all 5 warriors off their feet. Their weapons went flying. Dust and sand filled the air. When the dust cleared, Mingi stood in the center of a crater she had made when she landed. The Valkyrie warriors lay around her, groaning and trying to get up. "Jiwoo," Minji said, without turning around. "Are you recording this?" From where the Valkyrie had dropped her, Communications Officer Jiwoo Choi was, indeed, recording. Her equipment had been damaged in the crash, but her personal recorder was still working. She held it up with shaking hands. "Yes," Captain Jiwoo said. "I am sending everything back to command. They need to see this." "Good," Minji said. She looked down at Sektar, who was trying to crawl away from her. "The whole galaxy needs to see this." She reached down and grabbed Sektar by the back of his neck. She lifted the massive alien commander off the ground with one hand as easily as picking up a small child. You called us weak, Minji said, holding him at eye level. You said we were soft and pathetic. You said you would hunt down every human colony. Sektar struggled in her grip, but he could not break free. His yellow eyes were wide with terror. Please, he gasped. Mercy. Show mercy. Like the mercy you showed us, Minji asked. Like the mercy you showed the human families on the colonies you attacked. She carried him over to his ship and pressed him against the metal hull. Her hand left dents in the thick armor plating. Your ship has a communication system, she said. Call your fleet. Call your commanders. Tell them what you have seen here. Today, they will not believe me, Sektar said. Then show them, Minji replied. She looked at the ship's weapon systems. Fire your main gun at me. What? You heard me. Fire your ship's biggest weapon at me. Let your people see what happens. Sektar's hands shook as he activated the ship's weapon systems. The main cannon powered up with a deep humming sound. It was designed to destroy other spaceships. No living thing could survive a direct hit from it. Fire, Minji said. She let go of Sektar and stepped back. The alien commander hesitated for a moment. Then he pressed the trigger. A massive blue beam of energy shot out of the ship's cannon. It was 10 times more powerful than the hand weapons. It hit Minji directly in the chest and exploded in a blast of light and heat. The explosion threw sand and rocks. Hundreds of feet in all directions. The sound was like thunder. A mushroom cloud of dust and smoke rose into the air. When everything cleared, there was a huge crater in the sand where Minji had been standing. Sektar laughed weakly. Finally, she is dead. But then the smoke cleared completely. Minji stood in the center of the crater, completely unharmed. She was not even breathing hard. The blast that could destroy a building had not hurt her at all. Now, she said, walking out of the crater, call your fleet. Tell them what they just saw. Sektar's hands shook as he activated the communication system. His voice was barely a whisper when he spoke to his commanders far away in space. This is Sektar, the humans, ... The humans are not what we thought. They are not weak, they are He looked at Minji with pure terror in his eyes. They are something else entirely. The response came quickly. Sektar, report. Did you capture the human diplomats? The diplomats captured us, Sektar said. One human female destroyed my entire raiding party. Our weapons cannot hurt her. She is like a god of war. That is impossible. Humans are weak creatures. Send more ships, Sektar begged. Send the entire fleet. But I do not think it will matter. I think we have made a terrible mistake. Minji smiled, but it was not a kind smile. Yes, she said. You have. In the distance, Doyan and Nari watched everything with amazement and fear. Their captain had become something beyond human understanding. And across the galaxy, other humans were beginning to change too. High above the planet Kelro 7, space began to ripple like water. Huge shapes appeared out of nowhere as the Valkyrie fleet dropped out of hyperspace. 20 massive warships hung in the darkness, their weapons glowing with deadly power. On the bridge of the flagship, Admiral Corvin received Sektar's transmission. The old warrior had fought in 100 battles across the galaxy. He had never heard such fear in a soldier's voice before. Admiral, his communications officer said, Commander Sektar is requesting immediate reinforcement. He says the humans have some kind of ... weapon. One weapon. Admiral Corvin laughed. His scales were darker than most Valkyrie, showing his age and experience. We have 20 ships. Each one can destroy a city. What weapon could the humans possibly have? Sir, he says it is not a machine. He says it is one of the humans themselves. Admiral Corvin stopped laughing. That is impossible. Humans are soft creatures. They break easily. Should we send down more troops, sir? The Admiral looked at the planet below. It was just a ball of sand and rock. Nothing special about it. But something was making his best commander sound like a frightened child. No, he said finally. We will handle this ourselves. Prepare the fleet for orbital bombardment. We will turn the entire landing site into glass. Down on the planet's surface, Minji felt the change in the air. Her enhanced senses could detect things that normal humans could not. She looked up at the sky and saw tiny dots of light that had not been there before. They are coming, she said. Sektar was still, pressed against his ship's hull where Minji had left him. His yellow eyes followed her gaze upward. My fleet, he whispered. 20 ships. You cannot fight all of them. Watch me, Minji replied. She walked over to where her team was being held. The Valkyrie guards had dropped their weapons and were huddled together in fear. They moved away as she approached. Doyen, Narijiwu, she said. Are you hurt? We are fine, Captain, Doyen said, but he was staring at her like she was a stranger. What happened to you? How are you doing these things? I do not know, Minji answered honestly. But I can feel more changes coming. Something is waking up inside me. Inside all of us. Maybe. She cut their ropes with her fingernails, which had become harder than steel. Her team stood up slowly, still watching her with amazement and worry. Captain Jiwoo said, I sent the recording to Human Command. They want to speak with you immediately. Mingi looked at Jiwoo's communication device, put them through. The screen flickered, and the face of General Yoon appeared. He was the head of Human Colonial Defense. His expression was shocked and confused. Captain Park, the general said, we received your officer's transmission. The footage shows impossible things. How do you explain what we saw? I cannot explain it, sir, Minji said, but it is real. The enemy fleet is arriving now. I am going to stop them. Stop them, Captain. There are 20 warships up there. Each one has enough firepower to level a mountain. Then, I guess I will. Have 2 level 20 ships, Mingi said calmly. General Yoon's eyes widened. Captain, that is not possible. You need to evacuate. We will send a rescue mission. There is no time, Mingi said. She looked up as the first energy beams started falling from space. The orbital bombardment had begun. I have to end this now. The beams hit the sand around them, turning it into pools of melted glass. The heat was incredible. Normal humans would have been killed instantly. But Minji's team felt fine. As the energy washed over them, they began to feel the same changes that had transformed their captain. Their skin became harder. Their muscles grew stronger. Their minds became sharper and faster. What is happening to us? Nari gasped as she felt her body changing. Evolution, Minji said. We are becoming what we were always meant to be. More energy beams fell from the sky. But now all 4 humans could dodge them easily. They moved like dancers, flowing between the deadly blasts. Sektar watched in horror as all 4 humans changed. Before his eyes, this cannot be real, he muttered. This cannot be happening. In space, Admiral Corvin stared at his targeting screens. Why are the humans not dying? He demanded. Sir, they are moving too fast. His weapons officer replied. Our targeting computers cannot lock onto them. Then fire everything, Corvin roared. Turn the entire area into molten rock. All 20 ships opened fire at once. Hundreds of energy beams rained down from space. The desert became a sea of explosions and melted sand. The noise was like the end of the world. When the bombardment stopped, thick smoke covered everything. The Valkyrie fleet waited to see the results of their attack. The smoke cleared. 4 humans stood in the middle of a crater that stretched for miles. They were completely unharmed. Around them, the sand had been turned into twisted glass sculptures by the heat. But the humans looked like they had just been out for a peaceful walk. Impossible, Admiral Corvin whispered. On the planet Mingi looked up at the fleet. Her enhanced vision could see each ship clearly, even from hundreds of miles away. She could see the weapons charging for another attack. My turn, she said. She bent her knees and jumped. The ground cracked under the force of her leap. She shot upward like a rocket, breaking through the atmosphere in seconds. The cold of space did not bother her. She did not need to breathe anymore. In the flagship, a sensor operator screamed, Admiral, something is coming toward us from the planet. What kind of missile? Corvin demanded. It is not a missile, sir. It is... It is one of the humans. Admiral Corvin looked at the main screen. A small figure was flying through space toward his fleet. It was impossible, but his senses did not lie. All ships, fire on that target, he ordered. The fleet turned their weapons toward Mingy. Energy beams filled the space around her, but she moved through them like they were gentle rain. Her body twisted and spun, avoiding every shot. She reached the first ship and landed on its hull with a crash that shook the entire vessel. Through the metal, she could hear the crew screaming in panic. Mingy pressed her hands against the ship's armor. The metal began to crack and bend under her fingers. She tore a hole in the hull and looked inside. "Hello," she said to the terrified Valkyrie crew. "I think we need to talk." She grabbed the edge of the hull and pulled. The entire side of the ship came off like paper. Air and debris flew out into space, but the crew was protected by emergency force fields. "Abandon ship," Mingy said calmly, "right now." The crew did not need to be told twice. They ran for the escape pods as fast as they could. Mingy moved to the next ship, and the next. One by one, she tore apart the Valkyrie fleet with her bare hands. Each ship was disabled, but not destroyed. She did not want to kill anyone if she could help it. On the flagship, Admiral Corvin watched his fleet fall apart. In 10 minutes, one small human had done more damage than an entire enemy fleet could have done. "Sir," his communications officer said, with a shaking voice, "she is coming toward us." Admiral Corvin looked at the main screen. The human female was floating in space outside his bridge window. She waved at him with one hand. Then she knocked on the window. The sound echoed through the bridge like thunder. Every knock cracked the reinforced glass a little more. "Let me in," Mingy said. Her voice somehow carried through the vacuum of space. "We need to have a conversation." Admiral Corvin stared at the human female floating outside his bridge window. She looked so small compared to his massive warship, but she had just destroyed his entire fleet with her bare hands. Nothing in his long military career had prepared him for this moment. "Open the airlock," he said quietly to his crew. "Sir," his first officer asked, "are you sure that is wise?" "Look around you," Corvin replied, gesturing at the broken ships floating in space. "Do you think we have any choice?" The airlock opened with a soft hiss. Mingy floated inside, and the door closed behind her. Air filled the chamber, and she walked onto the bridge as if she belonged there. The Valkyrie crew backed away from her. In fear, these were warriors who had fought across the galaxy. They had faced pirates, rebels, and alien monsters, but this one small human terrified them more than anything they had ever seen. "Admiral Corvin," Mingy said, looking directly at him. "I know your name, I know your history. You have attacked 17 human colonies in the past year." Scales turned pale. "How do you know that?" "I can access your ship's computer systems just by touching them," Mingy said. She placed her hand on a nearby control panel. Information flowed through her enhanced mind at incredible speed. "I can see every battle you have fought, every human you have killed." The Admiral tried to stand tall and proud, but his legs were shaking. "We are a warrior race. We take what we want, it is our way." "Not anymore," Mingy said. She walked closer to him. Each step echoed in the silent bridge. "Your people made a mistake, Admiral. You thought humans were weak because we choose peace over war. You thought kindness was the same as weakness. You are not like other humans," Corvin said. "No," Mingy agreed. "But we could be. All of us could be like this, if you force us to be." Down on the planet, Doyan, Nari, and Jiwoo were still changing. They could feel new strength flowing through their bodies. Their minds were becoming faster and clearer. They looked at each other with wonder and fear. "Is this permanent?" Nari asked. "I do not know," Jiwoo replied. She was monitoring communications from across human space. "But it is happening to humans everywhere. Every time our people face impossible odds, they are awakening." Reports were coming in from dozens of colonies. Humans who had been captured, by pirates were breaking out of their prison ships. Farmers who had been attacked by alien raiders were fighting back with superhuman strength. Scientists who had been trapped in failing research stations were surviving in conditions that should have killed them. The galaxy was learning a new truth about humanity. They were not the weak prey species that everyone thought they were. Back on the flagship, Admiral Corvin was trying to understand what Minji was telling him. "You were saying all humans can become like you?" he asked. "Under the right conditions, yes," Minji said. "When we are pushed too far, when we face extinction, when we have no choice but to fight or die, then we become what we were always meant to be." She walked over to the ship's main view screen and activated it. Images appeared, showing the other human colonies across the galaxy. Some were under attack. Others were already fighting back with their newly awakened abilities. "Look," she said, "your people have been hunting humans for months. Each attack has awakened more of us. You have created the very thing you feared most, an enemy who cannot be defeated." Corvin watched the images in horror. On colony after colony, humans were displaying impossible abilities. They were stopping laser blasts with their hands. They were lifting vehicles over their heads. They were moving faster than the eye could follow. "We did not know," he whispered. "You did not care to know," Minji corrected. "You saw a species that preferred peace, and you thought that made us weak. You were wrong." She turned away from the screen and faced the Admiral directly. "But here is the thing, Admiral, we still prefer peace." Corvin looked confused. "What do you mean?" "I could kill you right now," Minji said simply. "I could tear this ship apart with my hands. I could hunt down every Valkyrie in the galaxy and end your entire species. Do you know why I have not done that?" The Admiral shook his head. "Because we choose to be better than you," Minji said. "We choose mercy over revenge. We choose to give you a chance to change, even though you never gave us that same chance." She walked over to the communications console. "Contact your home world. Contact every Valkyrie commander in your military. Tell them what you have seen here today." "They will not believe me," Corvin said. "Then show them," Minji replied. She touched the console, and suddenly, every view screen on the ship was displaying the battle footage. The destruction of the raiding party. The orbital bombardment that failed to hurt the humans. The dismantling of the entire fleet by one person. "Send this to everyone," she said. "Every Valkyrie commander, every government official, every citizen who thinks humans are weak, pray." Admiral Corvin's hands shook as he operated the communications system. The footage was transmitted across Valkyrie space at light speed. Soon, every member of his species would see the truth about humanity. "Now," Minji said, "we are going to make a deal." "What kind of deal?" Corvin asked. "Your people will stop attacking human colonies. You will return everything you stole from us. You will pay compensation to the families of those you killed. And you will never, ever underestimate humans again." "And if we refuse?" Minji smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Then the next time we meet, I will not be alone. There will be thousands like me. Millions, maybe. And we will not be interested in making deals." She moved closer to him until they were face to face. "You left me bleeding in the sand, Admiral. You and your people thought humans were nothing but soft, weak creatures who could be hunted for sport. You were wrong. We are not the prey in this galaxy. We never were." Corvin fell to his knees. The proud warrior who had conquered star systems was begging a human for mercy. "Please, spare my people. We will do as you ask." "I know you will," Minji said. "Because you understand now what happens to those who threaten humanity." She walked back toward the airlock. Before leaving, she turned around one last time. "Tell your people something else, Admiral. Today, you saw what one awakened human can do. But remember this, we have billions more where I came from, and every single one of them has the same potential sleeping in their blood." "How many of you will awaken?" Corvin asked in a whisper. Minji paused at the airlock door. "As many as we need to," she said. "However many it takes to protect our people and our way of life." She stepped into the airlock. Before the door closed, she left the Admiral with one final thought. The universe is about to learn something it should have known. From the beginning, she said, humans do not start wars, but we always finish them. The door closed, and she was gone. Admiral Corvin sat alone on his bridge, surrounded by the wreckage of his fleet and the ruins of everything he thought he knew about the galaxy. He looked at his communications console and began composing a message. To the Valkyrie High Command, it was a message of surrender. Down on Kelro 7, Minji landed softly in the sand where everything had started. Her team was waiting for her. They had changed too, but not as much as she had. They were still mostly human. Is it over? Doyan asked. This part is, Minji said. But it is also just the beginning. The galaxy knows about us now. Some will want to be our friends. Others will want to destroy us before we become too powerful. And what do we do then? Nari asked. Mingi looked up at the stars, where alien civilizations were probably already discussing the new human threat. She thought about all the sleeping potential in human DNA, waiting for the right moment to awaken. We do what humans have always done, she said. We adapt, we survive, and we protect each other. The sun was setting on Kelro 7 in the distance. The wreckage of the Valkyrie ambush was already being covered by blowing sand. Soon, there would be no sign that a battle had ever taken place here. But the galaxy would never forget what happened. In this desert, the day humanity stopped being prey and became something far more dangerous. The day they learned that the most terrifying predator in the universe is the one who chooses not to hunt.